And there are what are called samajik yamas. There are things that are applicable at all circumstances to everybody. So in the process of yoga, there are 5 aspects of samajik yama, things that apply to everybody. The first is called Satya. Satya means truth. Now, yoga is one of those frustrating things in which everything is simple and horrendously difficult. Yes? Yeah? Don't mistake the complex for the difficult. The complex is only complex. It's not necessarily difficult. Usually the simple things are difficult. For instance, don't tell a lie.
That's complex.
Yeah. No, that's not at all complex. It's exceedingly simple. Yeah, you are either truthful or you're not. It's exceedingly simple. Even small children get it. Even animals get it. If you go onto YouTube and you key in guilty dog videos, the dogs know very well when they've done something wrong, and the kind of behavior that they manifest. So even they know. Even they know. Why does yoga make such a fuss about truthfulness? Because if you are dishonest, if you are not in integrity, it creates big boulders in your evolution. It creates big vignams in your energy. If you say something, if you make a commitment, I will be there at 3 o'clock, and then you cancel at the last moment, or you turn up at 3:40, to that extent you have reduced your Shakti. Between your vak, your speech, and your pravati, your action, there should be absolutely 100% overlap. There should not be any divergence. The more divergence there is, so it looks like nitpicking on the part of the great masters, because they would always insist. Ramakrishna Paramahansa was very famous for this. He was told, somebody said, shall I come and meet you next Thursday? And he said, yes, please do. And the person said, oh, I forgot, I have something to do on Thursday, can I come on Wednesday? He said, no. Because I have committed to a certain thing, whether you have committed or not, I don't know, but now Thursday is the only time. So, Satya in that sense is your commitment to integrity. Now, if you see somebody who's intent on murdering somebody and they ask you, have you seen that person, you are allowed to lie and say, no, I haven't seen. That is not a failure from Satya, that is not a, you are allowed to. Yoga is not stupid. That is what is called as vyavaharika. Depending on the situation, you can change your so you are allowed in certain exceptional circumstances, you are allowed to be little flexible with the truth. But in general, if you are in the habit of white lies or even big fat lies, it will start impacting your practice. It will start impacting your evolution. It will start impacting your life. If you can not commit to something, don't commit. But once you commit, see it through. Again, this is an exceedingly simple thing to say. It is a fiendishly, horribly difficult thing to practice. If you just try and practice, you say, okay, I'll do this at a particular time, or I'll meet this person, or just try and stick to your commitments, you'll see how difficult it is. So the first thing they tell you is that don't commit unless you are sure you can see it through. So the aspect about not lying and all that, do you really need me to tell you why it is a bad thing to lie? And why when you are caught out in a lie, why when people find that you have no more credibility? Okay, if you are a politician, then lying is your second nature. That is probably the swadharma of being a neta, I don't know. But the reason in yoga is very simple. If you are living a lie, telling a lie, if you are not in integrity, if you are not integral with your word, that is what they say, be integral with your word, be truthful to your word. It really impacts. It really impacts. impacts your processes. It really impacts. And if you come to a certain level of growth in yoga, you can actually feel the difference. Once you tell a lie, you can feel the difference. Now, in the days when I got activated, I got one little gift with that activation because the Shakti used to pour in from the top of my head full time. And any time somebody in front of me would tell a lie, it would stop for 1 second. So I became like this universal lie detector. And if I told a lie, that's it, half a day it would shut down. So I began to realize that one has to be very, very careful in this matter. Because if you are in the habit of lying, in the end you end up deceiving yourself more than anybody else. Yes, Shakespeare in Hamlet had a very famous speech by Polonius to his son. And one of the things he said, the last thing he said in fact, this above all, to thine own self be true, for it follows then as surely the night the day thou canst not be false to any other man. You can lie and cheat other people only if you lie and cheat yourself. Which is why they say you cannot deceive an honest person. You cannot play a confidence trick on an honest person. Shakespeare was one of the great masters of the world, but because he's an Englishman and he lived in Elizabethan times, we don't understand. But you will actually learn more about life from Shakespeare than anywhere else in the world. Shakespeare is probably the best training for living in integrity. Shakespeare is probably the best training for understanding life. That speech of Polonius, but this just staggered me when I first saw it, because I'm like, the man is a yogi. Because he understands that we can deceive others only if we are deceiving ourselves. We can cheat ourselves. The man is a yogi. He understood that. To thine own self be true. In the morning we were having a little debate about what is considered the soul. The word soul is such a bad translation for Atma. Most people confuse their personality for the soul. So, your personality is not the soul, and the soul cannot be touched in any way. But that is for another time. Whenever I talk about Atma, you can get into that. So the first aspect, the first samajik aspect of Yama, of restraint, of the first limb of yoga, the first anga of yoga is Satya.